Hello and welcome. I'm Patrick Cunningham, and along with Andy Smith-Peterson, we'll be your moderators for this virtual MEGUG brown bag luncheon, or lunch and learn. All attendees are in listen-only mode, but if you have any questions for Bob or Vinton, our speakers today, or for any of us, please use the questions panel and we'll do our best to answer them. We're excited to have Bob and Vinton presenting on updates to the Maine GeoLibrary data portal today. It should be an interesting talk, and we encourage you to ask questions and to get as much out of this as you can today. Our speakers are here to help and to share information on the updates. I would like to take a brief moment to remind you to renew your MEGUG membership this year if you yet haven't done that. We did send out invoices a couple months ago, and we still have some folks that haven't yet renewed their membership. It's really important to help us keep MEGUG going and to promote GIS education and networking in Maine, and we really appreciate your support. We certainly appreciate the support of all of our sponsors and our gold sponsors as well, Quantum Spatial, Blue Marble Geographics, and Esri. A little bit of information on the Maine GIS Users Group. This is our board. I'm the chair, and Judy Coley-George is our vice chair. Jeff Normandin is the treasurer. Tor is our education coordinator, and Andy is our secretary. And we have 4 at-large members: Becky, Jamie, Taya, and Don. The Maine GIS Users Group is a nonprofit organization that promotes awareness of and encourages the coordinated development and effective use of geographic information related technologies. MEGUG focuses its efforts in the areas of policy liaison and networking, research, education, and public relations. The group facilitates discussions and exchange of information and ideas in these areas by hosting regular meetings, workshops, and roundtables open to both members and non-members. And as is the case this year, we've migrated, like others, to virtual meetings. And this is now our 3rd virtual brown bag lunch and learn. And we've been very happy with the attendance, and it seems that people are enjoying the topics that we have been presenting, and we will keep doing this. In fact, we've got a few others already scheduled. We're going to take the month of August off to try to get the last bit of enjoyment out of the summer that we can. And then we'll be back at it in September on the 17th with a review of the new 2022 datum and updates to that with Dan Martin from NOAA. October 13th, very excited about our topic. It's a discussion on the issues with mapping and tracking COVID-19 data with Dr. Megan May, who's a professor of microbiology and infectious diseases at the University of New England College of Osteopathic Medicine. And then in November, we haven't yet set the date, but we're going to do a talk on the high resolution land cover and forest mapping data products for Maine. We've got some other great ideas coming down the pike around OpenStreetMaps and inland fisheries and wildlife. And if you have any ideas for a brown bag presentation, or maybe it's one that you'd like to present, we would love to hear from you. And just a reminder, we do have our annual meeting that we will do in the fall. The date is still yet to be confirmed, but please do watch for information on our upcoming virtual annual meeting this fall, where we'll elect some new officers. If you're interested in running, certainly let us know. We'll have information coming out about how to do that. And we'll review not only the goals for the 2021 calendar, but also what we have accomplished and covered in the prior year in 2020. At this point, I'm going to hand this over to Andy to introduce our speakers.
Thank you, Patrick. I'm pleased to welcome Vinton and Bob today. Bob Bistrais has been a GIS practitioner since 1991. He's currently a senior programmer analyst with the Maine Office of GIS, where he's been employed since 1995. His current roles include supporting the MeJust infrastructure, GIS support to state agencies, development of applications and services, as well as programming support, web development, and other technologies. Bob's also an adjunct professor at the University of Maine Augusta and University of Maine MeJust, where he conducts classes in GIS. He holds a master's degree in geography, is a certified Geographic Information Systems Professional, or GISP, and also holds a commercial pilot certificate for airplanes and a remote pilot certificate for small unmanned aircraft systems. Vinton Valentine is director of University of Southern Maine GIS and adjunct faculty in the Geography Anthropology program within the Muskie School of Public Service. His background includes geospatial work in private industry, research organizations, and academia. He is past education coordinator of MEGUG, is a member of the Maine Geospatial Institute Executive Committee, and serves as the University of Maine System representative to the board of the Maine Library of Geographic Information. He applies geospatial technologies within a variety of research interests, including coastal wetlands, sea level change, maritime boundaries, the Arctic, with a current focus on Greenland, free and open source ecosystems, and of course, digital atlases and online portals. And I think Vinton is going to start this afternoon, so I will turn it over to Vinton.
All right.
I'm going to do that right now. Here you go, Vinton.
All right, thank you. Show my screen. Hey, is my screen showing?
I believe. Yes.
Okay, let's get the slideshow going. I'd like to thank MEGUG, particularly Patrick and Andy, for inviting us to come and give an update on the GeoLibrary portal efforts. I haven't been involved with the portal and the data catalogs as long as Bob has, but I have been on the board since about 2010, and before that for a couple years as an observer. So, but before Bob's expert demo that you guys will enjoy, I'm going to give a brief and incomplete history of how we came to the portal at this point. I'm sure a lot of our audience members have more details than I'll cover here, or maybe even corrections, but the Maine Library of Geographic Information, the GeoLibrary, was established by state statute in 2002. The current legislation is Title V in the Maine Revised Statutes Annotated, and it's sections 201 to 206. So under section 2003, one of the purposes and duties noted for the GeoLibrary, for the Library of Geographic Information, is a coordinated, cost-effective electronic gateway providing access to data custodians' public geographic information. So data custodians are both state and non-state. And while the goal is to make sure is to encourage participation for statewide GIS data layers, and any state funds that are expended to get those data layers are to be posted on the GeoLibrary, the goal really is over the years to get as much data across the state available through the portal. So you'll hear the term Geo Portal. If you go to some of our annual reports on the website, that's what we'll talk about, the Geo Portal. I also might mention data catalog. So we've had a few attempts over the course of the GeoLibrary formation. The first was a GIS data catalog. It was the initial website hosted by MeJust and put together with also at the time the Maine GIS Executive Council. I don't know how many of you saw that. It was a list of the data layers alphabetically, and you could click on them and read it, data documentation, and then download the data. Ionic Corporation was contracted to do some development, but it never was deployed. And you can go and talk to other board members to see how that situation evolved and why it didn't go anywhere. So ESRI came up with a GIS portal toolkit that was marketed to the GeoLibrary, and it was used briefly for a couple years, but it did have some issues. So some development for GeoNetwork open source, an open source package was let for a contract to the Advanced Computing Group at University of Southern Maine, and it was deployed behind what became the MEGUS data catalog that you're probably more familiar with nowadays. There was a geoportal tool that was never done, and even for the development with GeoNetwork called GeoNode.
Vinton, we're having a little hard time. Vinton, we're having a bit of a hard time understanding you. Can you hear me? Vinton, can you hear me? Vinton, are you there?
I am back. I don't know what happened.
Okay. Didn't get the last bit that you were just saying. Maybe you could repeat it. Sorry.
But that's okay. So I don't want to spend much more time on it. Other than we've had a number of attempts, some with funding through the GeoLibrary through the bond funds, which could support development, but they couldn't support day-to-day operations. And there were a couple. I mentioned the GIS Portal Toolkit from ESRI, and then the latest was that was developed through GeoLibrary funds was GeoNetwork open source. Oops. Uh-oh. But at that point, the original bond funds became expended. So the MEGUS data catalog, that more legacy one that you may be familiar with, became the de facto data interface for the GeoLibrary portal. However, what was developed lacked popularity from a number of users. And as I mentioned, there were no funds for maintenance or volunteers for this point. We discussed the possibility of volunteers being able to do the maintenance, both software and data, but it just wasn't really workable. There were also reductions and changes in partner staffing. So not just MEGUS, but the people that were working on the GeoLibrary board that were helping to push the effort through technical committees. And expertise to develop a separate portal was starting to be hard to come by in our group. So there was also a resource strain because now we had two interfaces, that GeoNetwork interface and the MEGUS data catalog, as well as this back end that had been improving with some of the efforts for MEGUS to deliver data with their charge within the state agencies, but also getting that out to the public. And then lastly, the MEGUS data catalog already was a front end to this portal because you could get to it as well as from the GeoNetwork application itself. So we came up, as things happened, so 5 or so years ago, we still had limited choices. So the MEGUS data catalog, you probably know and love, was aging. It was static content, and it required manual updates, which made the operation inefficient. I already mentioned we had a lack of independent GeoLibrary funds to fund operations because the bond funds weren't available for that, and we do not have, though we're trying, we do not have a state line item to help support GeoLibrary day-to-day operations. There was a desire to leverage this evolving back-end technology I mentioned that MEGUS was deploying, as well as what was available in the state's license agreement. So a new product has come along. It was deemed an improvement by a few of the technical people on their committees over ESRI's previous efforts, that GIS Portal Toolkit and the GeoPortal server that I mentioned earlier. So after some discussion over a variety of meetings, and you can go to the minutes of the meetings on our website to see the details, the board did accept what we're terming a long-term evaluation of this new product. With the goal, one of the things we're talking about is a new update to our strategic plan, which will address the GeoPortal evolution from this point forward. So our latest attempt uses the ArcGIS Open Data product, was what it was originally called, and that's evolved to ArcGIS Hub. But the initial interface really wasn't received well by patrons and many of the board members and users, probably a number of you in MEGUG as well. So now we have the Maine GeoLibrary data catalog that was in beta for a little while, and hopefully a number of you participated in the survey that we had for it, and it went live by itself just earlier this month. So the idea is it's giving the comfort of that straightforward listings that was there in the legacy MeJust data catalog, but also taking advantage of the new functions that are available with this backend and more tightly linking services to some of the data offerings. So with that, if there are any questions, it'd be a good time to put something in chat or forward it to our moderators. If not, I can pass this on to Bob for his demo.
Well, we do have one question while you're handing control over to Bob, Vinton. Maybe this would be for you. Do you know how non-state agencies or orgs can get data available through the portal?
In the past, we could those groups, we had the way to have authorized users be able to enter metadata and how those users would want to be able to distribute it to individuals. That is one of the things that we want to know or are thinking about for this current portal, and but maybe Bob can have a little bit more input when he starts his presentation. But it is something that it is a goal of the GeoLibrary and part of our legislation that we have non-state custodians, especially those with state dollars. But as I mentioned before, that goal to get more data on and how we can do that is definitely a topic that we're continuing to deal with.
Sure. Okay, great. Thank you, Vinton. We'll hand it over to you, Bob.
Okay, thanks. Let me just get my browser maximized here. Okay, and can everyone see the screen? Should be the GeoLibrary website.
Yep, looks good.
Okay, very good. Well, again, thank you for that introduction and background, Vinton. Again, a couple of key points that led to the development of the new GeoLibrary data catalog was the fact that we had the old MeJust catalog, well, based on the MeJust website, which of course was well used and familiar to everyone, but it required a lot of manual maintenance to keep it current. And then, of course, we had the ArcGIS hub-based interface, which is actually still out there, but it lacked. It was not well loved by the user community. So really, the genesis of the new catalog began with the need to leverage the back end, leverage the ability, our existing resources of our spatial databases, our ArcGIS servers, our ArcGIS online environment, to allow a dynamically generated catalog where as soon as content is published, it's available in the data catalog. Content is controlled by the publishing and owning agencies. A lot of that content, of course, is the GeoLibrary, but we also have a lot of content that is contributed from our partner agencies, such as DOT, IF&W, and others. So once again, we're leveraging the technical aspect of our back end with a familiar interface similar to the old MeJust data catalog that the user communities seem to like. Why I'm sticking here on the old MeJust webpage, I'm going to, first of all, show that we're already forwarding the linkage. So if you're trying, those of you who have bookmarks, well, first of all, please do change your bookmarks. But if you still have a bookmark to the old MeJust catalog, we have put some forwarding in. So I'll click the catalog link here, and you'll see a quick notice. Yeah, the old catalog, the MeJust catalog, has been retired, and it will forward you to the new catalog page. And excuse me, I just need to move a few utilities around my screen here. Here we go. By the way, I'm on a single screen environment here, so I'm a little bit crippled here. But once again, the new catalog is actually linked to and based off of it's integrated into the Maine GeoLibrary website, and it's just under the data tab. The GeoLibrary data catalog will take you there if you didn't get automatically forwarded from the old MeJust catalog. I'm going to take a couple of minutes. I really do mean just a couple of minutes to talk a little techie here. Sorry, that's what I do. It's a little bit of technical background of how this thing works. And there we go. Now, bear with me, those of you non-techies, non-programmers, I'll keep it quick. But how this thing works, as I mentioned, we're leveraging the existing backend, the existing spatial geodatabases and ARC servers, and also in many cases ArcGIS Online. All of the data that appears in this catalog is first published to the main ArcGIS Online organization, and then it's shared to what we call an open data group. And an open data group is a thing in ArcGIS Online that allows publishers, people who publish content, to make their data discoverable, make it discoverable either to an ArcGIS hub or in this case to our catalog. Now, one other thing with the development of this catalog, and actually with the development of the hub-based catalog, GeoLibrary catalog, we're really also shifting the responsibility and the ownership back to the creating agencies. So again, DEP, IF&W, DOT, and so on, as well as the GeoLibrary. We each own a share of content. We each own our respective layers. Each agency maintains their own data, and they share that data through ArcGIS Online to their own open data group. And the Maine GeoLibrary has its own open data group, which contains the data that isn't specific to any agency, such as boundaries, imagery, parcels, and so on. And really, this is the same process by which the hub-based GeoLibrary catalog works. So the new catalog, as far as getting all that content to the front end, to this old MeJust catalog-like front end that people seem to like, the new catalog works by using the ArcGIS REST API. And this is what that ArcGIS REST API is. Let me try and just do a little magnification here so people can see a little bit better. This is what the catalog looks like actually on the back end, and you can see. I hope this makes a little bit of sense. I know it's a little hard to figure out. That's why we have the nice catalog page for you. But you can see here that each piece of content is listed separately in this long list of items. And in this case, here's an item that I own. Here's when it was created and modified. And you can see the title is U.S. Congressional Districts from 2003. We have the description. Also notice the, where is it, the tags. The tags are a very important part of it. And of course, those of you who work with ArcGIS Online are already familiar with tags and also other aspects of ArcGIS. Tags, of course, being keywords that help make your data discoverable. So once again, this is really what the data listing looks like before we do some HTML and JavaScript magic to it to make it appear in the catalog. And really, that's really, again, I promised I would keep the technical background brief. I'd be happy to talk more individually or offline with anyone. That would be fine. But that basically is what makes this thing work. So now let's talk a little bit about using the catalog. Once again, if you are still bookmarked to the old MeJust catalog, please change it to the new catalog. But if you haven't done so yet, you will be forwarded automatically after a couple of seconds. And the new catalog is actually 3 separate pages. We have the main page is listed by category, and we're specifically using ISO categories. You can see here we have farming. Actually, we have a pull-down list if you want to see what categories are available, and if you want to jump to a specific category. If you need more description, though, need a better definition of what these ISO categories mean, just click on the definitions link. This links to, this is a not state of Maine page, this is a USGS page. And if it decides to load, yeah, here we go. And we can see here a description of the different types, what those ISO categories mean. So we just use these ISO categories to group our data. Now, if you remember the MeJust catalog, the old MeJust catalog, it also had an alphabetical listing, which people, and I've heard feedback, people do like this alphabetical listing. By the way, notice it does take a couple of seconds to generate. By the way, I'm at home on a DSL, so things are a little bit slow for me, but it does generate. Why that is, this page, unlike the old catalog, the old MeJust catalog, this is generated dynamically, so it's being generated on the fly. So there's a little bit of JavaScript code that's got to be read before it appears. But here's the alphabetical listing of all our layers. Once again, that is seems to be well liked by users. Another suggestion that came up from one of my colleagues from one of the other agencies was, hey, can you make a page that will list the data by agency? So I did a little bit of coding there, and I created a page that does list the data by agency. And you can see here that, first of all, Maine GeoLibrary is the first one on the list, but we have the other agencies. And we have a pull-down list here as well if you wanted to jump down to a particular agency and see what their data listings are. As an example, I'll just jump down to Department of Marine Resources, and here are the layers that they have chosen to share to the catalog. So once again, all these layers should appear on all of these 3 different pages. It really is a matter of how do you want to view, how do you, by what organization, how do you want to view the data. A caveat to the user is that this depends, what gets listed in this catalog depends heavily on, first of all, the owning agency. They decide what gets published or what does not get published to this catalog. So if there is a layer that you may be interested in, maybe you had even seen it in the past, that is no longer here, it is, remember, under the control of the owning agency. So if there's something you can't find in the catalog, I would recommend trying to contact the GIS representative from the owning agency. If you don't know who that might be, just send your query to the GeoLibrary, and we'll try and help you out. The other thing, if you remember a few minutes ago, we looked at tags, those keywords. How things appear, especially in this categorical list, really depend on how well the publisher tagged this their data layers. And in a lot of cases, a particular layer could appear more than once under more than one category, and that's okay, because once again, that's depending on the tags. So let's run through a quick demo of using the data catalog. I'm just going to find there's a lot to choose. Go ahead.
We have a question about that point, data availability. So if a user is not able to find data they're looking for, then it's not necessarily that the agency isn't publishing it. It could be that it's not tagged appropriately to come up in the search. how can users, communicate that to your team, and are you able to then speak to the agency to get them to change their tags so it might be easier to find?
Yes, well, we do communicate with other agencies. The MEGUS, which of course is closely tied with the GeoLibrary. You might even say, intertwined. We do work and communicate quite regularly with the other agencies. We, in fact, have monthly meetings with our other agencies who own and publish data. We have what is known as a GIS Council, which includes GIS leads from those other agencies. Once again, if a user has trouble finding data and maybe they have a suggestion for tags, certainly we can communicate that to the agency, or you can go to the agency's homepage on the Maine.gov website and work directly with the owning agency as well. So either way works. By the way, one thing, although what appears on the categorical page is controlled heavily by tags, we also have the alphabetical list should show everything, every layer that has been published and shared to the data catalog. So again, at least if you're trying to look for a layer, you swore it was there, but you couldn't find it on one page, it should absolutely appear on the alphabetical page, just because we're listing everything that's available that's been published to the catalog. So in other words, the alphabetical list is less dependent on is not dependent on tags as much as title.
Okay, that's good to know.
Sure. No, great question. So I'm just once again just finding a representative data page here. I'm just going to jump down. I think I'll jump down to boundaries. Again, excuse my slower internet connection, but using the catalog, you can see here that we have several ways, several formats with which you can access data from. You can see here we have a built-in floating legend, which explains what the different icons relate to. And let's just take it left to right across the page. I'm just going to go with the county polygon dissolve for no particular reason. If we just click on the title of the layer is hyperlinked, and that will actually take you to the, there we go. That will take you to actually the old hub-based page. It's still available, and you can see here using Maine Armories as my example. You can see that this old hub page is still there. So far, I'm sure you're thinking, well, where's the improvement there? Well, no, that's just one option that's still there. But continuing on, one other thing you want to remember is that all of the data that is published to the catalog is available as services, and we do try and encourage users to use services. I realize some people like downloads, some people have an absolute need for downloads depending on their environment, but we try and encourage people to use GIS services rather than downloading the data. All of our data that's in the catalog is available through a REST service, and if you click the REST icon, it will take you to that service page, and you could simply copy the URL and paste it into a GIS client and have the data appear that way. We're also, this is still a work in progress, but we're also trying to continue to promote OGC services and make those available as much as possible. Now that requires a little bit more coordination with our partner agencies. All of the GeoLibrary services should be available in at least WMS, Web Map Service Specification. To the extent possible, we're also trying to make web feature or web coverage service, depending on whether it's vector or raster, make that format available as well. So once again, we have several service types. We have the ArcGIS REST specification, which, by the way, certain non-S3 clients support, including QGIS as an example. But we also have the web map service, web feature service, and web coverage service where appropriate. Now, for those who do have a strong desire or a strong need to download the files, shape files, or KML, that ability is also available to you. You can simply click on either the KML, the little Google Earth icon, and this might take a second. There it goes. Or you can click on the shapefile icon. And again, I'm not going to actually download it, but you can see that a downloadable shapefile, zip shapefile is available. Some of these bigger data sets will take longer than others, and you may see a little spinner if it takes a little bit of time to prepare the download. Let me see if I can find an example here. And we should see a little spinner here. Oh no, that's okay. Well, suffice to say, you may see a little blue spinner if it's a larger download, if it takes a little, if it needs a little more time to download. And of course, we have the metadata pages available under the metadata icon. So once again, we have that familiar look to the old MeJust catalog as far as operation goes, with a number of enhancements, improvements, and you can see here we're downloading the metadata. The metadata, this particular metadata page is coming from the ArcGIS Online environment. There it is, and once again, that's the service metadata. We also have a number of these layers are also appearing in the older style metadata. Let's see, not this one, but well, once again, we have right now metadata is coming in a couple of different formats, but it is the metadata that we've featured in previous versions of the catalog. A couple of special cases. Let me jump over to the, let me just hit the back to top page.
Bob, we do have another, if you can hear me, Bob, as a follow-on to,
go ahead.
Yeah, as a follow-on to the earlier question I asked about finding data, can the GeoLibrary include other non-state users in the open data group?
Right. Okay. That is a question that is above my pay grade. Seriously, folks, that I would say is more of a policy question. There are technical considerations, but I think it's technologically possible. But it's a policy question of, should the GeoLibrary, should a Maine state website and a state of Maine agency be featuring that content, and I'm not telling you my thoughts on it. I'm not paid for that. But seriously, folks, that decision's not up to me. Remember, with the ever expanding capabilities of ArcGIS Hub and Hub Premium, and Hub Premium's ability to allow outside collaboration and contribution, that technically, I believe, would be possible. Once again, it really, I think the bigger issue is going to be policy and what should be allowed. And again, that's not up to me to answer.
Okay, fair enough. We'll have to get back to the respondent on that, unless Vinton has any thoughts on that.
Okay. We have a number of several layers that are, we have alternative download types, which are worth mentioning here. These tend to be very, if they were statewide, they would be very large data sets. To be included, included in that would be the 911, enhanced 911 road and address point data, parcels and contour data. So as an example, I will show you the contour data here. And you notice, you may have noticed that there was a tile icon there. And again, that's downloading by tile. If we click on that, that will take you to a separate page. And here we go. And you can see here that we have contour tiles downloadable by town. We also have the ability. Let me see the part. Let me go over to the parcels page. There we go. The parcels, likewise, because that's a large data set, we have those downloadable tiled by towns. Now, one other feature type or format type that we have is file geodatabase. Some users still do want the entire statewide data set. It's a very large data set. So we feature the ability to download these by file geodatabase statewide. Last resort, by the way, if that doesn't work for you, if your GIS client does not support file geodatabases and you still have the need to download the entire data set statewide, I would recommend clicking on the data the title of the data layer, which as we've seen will take you back to the hub page. And I picked parcels for organized towns. And in that case, you may choose to download the full data set, again, using the old method. Strongly recommend that you do not try and download parcels or another large data set statewide in KML. It will just crash your Google clients. We've seen that time, and they're actually, I believe it's a file size limit that you will crash your Google clients. It won't accept that.
That's a good example, Bob. Bob, that's a good example of the hub pages and some of the things we could do that we couldn't do before in terms of seeing the data, filtering and downloading those filtered sets. So I think that was good, that actually showing some of that interface.
Yes, and that is also raises a good point for more shall I say, more advanced or more savvy users who may need some sort of custom filtering. By going to the hub page, they can take advantage of that. They can, for instance, maybe select county equals. Maybe I wanted York and Cumberland. So they could do that, and that would filter on those counties, and they can create their download that way. So that would work too. Once again, the hub page hasn't gone away. It's there for those more specialized use cases. That I believe is what I believe I've covered all the points that I wanted to cover. And I am open for questions.
Okay, great. If you have any questions, please just put them in the chat and we'll address them. I know that we have had a consistent question from users. I'm not sure, Bob, if you can answer this, or maybe Vinton. And we have one similar to it. Given the more seemingly federated nature with state government, what is the status of metadata consistency and completeness throughout state agencies, if you know it? What are the latest vendor plans to support fuller metadata?
Well, I will tell.
Bob, you're breaking up there. I don't know if you can. Vinton, do you have any?
Well, so as Bob mentioned before, metadata, because the services are coming from each of the owning agencies, metadata is kind of their responsibility as well. So from what I understand, and Bob will correct me, is that the role in MeJust in the past to make sure there's consistent metadata, that it all gets, there's a GIS coordinator that focuses on that task prior to posting it. It's a little bit more coordinated through the GIS council of the state agencies, that they're following some best practices to enter their metadata. But Bob can give more detail on that than I can.
Yes, I mean, that's essentially it. Is of course, we do have a GIS coordinator who actually going back a few years, when all of the data had to be zipped into shape files and coordinated, and everything was centralized through the MeJust catalog, that GIS coordinator had well, basically she had her eyes on the metadata for every layer that went through there. And of course, with the owning the publishing agencies taking responsibility, we still have published standards that the agencies should be adhering to. Again, I have not looked at every single data layer. I do know the publishing agencies. I believe that they're doing a good job now. If we have older layers that are out there that sure, they slip through the cracks, but we do have published metadata standards that agencies are expected to follow, and again, we have a limited number of publishers with each agency. So really, they bear the responsibility of creating that metadata and following the standards. As far as the metadata tools go, well, of course, we are an S3 shop, so we are using the metadata tools that are inherent to the ArcGIS environment.
Okay. Great. Andy, do you have any other questions for our?
I see a question about pointing to published metadata standards.
Oh yeah.
So in the GeoLibrary webpage, there's a publications page, and on there's access to some of the standards that have been promulgated. And I believe the metadata, I'm not looking at right now, but I believe the metadata standards that all the agencies have followed in the past and are continue to follow should be available. Yeah, there it is. Thank you very much. So, because one of the questions we have is with the way ArcGIS Online handles metadata, it's not as easy to get to definitions, say, of entities and attributes like you could before, and to see them all in one fell swoop. So I know that's, we've come across that with a number of layers, and that's why I asked the question about the council talking more about, or at least stressing more about, making sure the metadata is more complete. And I know ESRI, they continue to have metadata options, but a lot of it seems to be focused on the ArcGIS Online distribution of data, and maybe not some of the completeness we recall from the past. But a lot of that's based on the agency and the fact it doesn't seem we have an individual looking at stuff anymore, particularly, and it's been federated out, if we want to use that term, then it's just something we need to pay more attention to.
Okay, great. Well, it seems to be all the questions we have. So I think I'll just take back control. And again, I'd like to say thank you so much to our presenters, Bob and Vinton, and my co-moderator, Andy. Again, we have monthly MEGUG virtual lunch and learns coming up. We'll be taking August off. In September, we'll be talking about the upcoming datum change for 2022 and some changes to that plan. And in October, we'll be talking about mapping COVID-19. And somewhere along that way, we're going to fit in our annual meeting. So please look for that. And of course, if you haven't yet this year, please do renew your MEGUG membership. And again, thank you so much, speakers. Presenters.
Thank you.
And everybody, and have a great rest of the day. And thanks again.